it gives me an indicator. I had to restart everything. I used Restream earlier today on 2 occasions, and it worked perfectly fine, but I was a slave and not a master. So on the master settings, because I started it on my PC, it wouldn't recognize my power coming in on the mobile phone. So I have to start it on the mobile phone, and then I can replicate it on the PC. In fact, it does it automatically on the PC. It's very clever. So if I join on the PC now, yeah, it tells me that I'm all running, and I get the same level of controls as well. So if anyone is there now, please come back. Yeah, so let's see if anyone's coming back. If you didn't come back, I wouldn't blame you. We only get one chance in life sometimes. Maybe I've blew it already. Bumblebee, come back. Local, come back. If you can hear me, raise your arms and wave. You're 10 seconds behind as well, which is a real time buffer, because when I ask a question when I'm on a YouTube live, the answers come in thick and fast. So that 10 seconds is going to be disconcerting for me. I'll probably get used to it eventually. But yeah, if you want to have another go, Bumblebee, I'll put the link back in. I'm still using Restream for now. I'm going to have a thank you for coming back, Baron. Future Baron, rather. In 10 seconds' time, you are future Baron. You're a man in the future for me, or are you a man in the past? I guess you're in the past. You're still a time traveler. Whichever way you look at it, you're experiencing something that is gone. It's gone from my life. You know, it was good while it lasted. Poof! But now it's gone. So I hope you're enjoying yourself there, Baron. 10 seconds behind. If only you could be 10 seconds ahead. You could be able to advise me. You know, you could watch the lottery for me. You could pass me the numbers just before the time where it's too late to lay your ticket on. You know, local experimentalist. I'm so sorry. I must look as thick as a brick.
Did you manage to get it working now?
Can you hear me?
1 2 1 2. Testicles. 1 2 1 2.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Then it's working. Thank God for that. I've just fucking babbled on this damn thing for the last 2 minutes, and I did have a little concern halfway through, thinking I'm still speaking to myself, which is not so bad. You know, I tried to advise myself well. Sometimes it's difficult. How are you, man? Are you on your dinner break?
Yep, on my final break of the evening, of the morning, and then finish work at 6 o'clock.
Beautiful.
And then hop into
then
bed.
clubbing. And then clubbing, girls,
clubbing,
alcohol,
alcohol,
recreational drugs, partying, dancing.
Alcohol is not my drug of choice, but recreational drugs for sure.
Haha, I love your honesty, local. Has it been a tough night for you?
Oh, it's been busy for the last 4 nights. I work a 4-night on, 4-night off pattern. So yeah.
So you get 4 days off, which is a Billy bonus, isn't it? It's a nice little period to do stuff with. Go away for a few days, put yourself into a bit of sport for a few days. Anything you wanted to do.
Well, I can't go to clubbing or anything like that because I haven't been vaccinated.
Don't you worry about that. There's going to be pure blood nightclubs opening soon, and I'm telling you what, local, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. within the next year or so, your sperm is going to become very valuable. There's
Hold
gonna
on.
be a long line of women queuing up.
I have to be honest again. I've had one shot.
That may have had an impact. Maybe that'll wear off. Maybe in a year's time, 2 years' time, you can truly call yourself a pureblood again. It's not infringed you too much.
Yeah, I think I had it last April. They say if you've had the first jab and you've not had the second or third jab, it expires after 6 months or something like that.
Well, it doesn't completely leave your system for quite a while, but yeah, its power where it was meant to help diminishes within 6 to 9 months. I think they're quoting now, but they're
Something
roughly the
else.
same figures they were quoting at the start of it. So, and I'm sure more has been discovered now, but that's their subject, not ours to worry about.
Yeah.
Does everyone hear okay in the chat? Because I don't know how this is coming through. I'm using Restream instead of StreamYard just to see how it works. Cop was using Restream earlier and I joined him for a bit. So I just wanted to know it was all fine. I know you're taking 10 seconds behind.
Hello, Maria. Hello, everybody in the chat.
Hi, Marie C. Lovely to see you. And thanks for joining. Marie C keeps about the same hours as I do, unfortunately, at the moment. Well, not unfortunately, but whichever way you look at it, I need to stop doing this nocturnal stuff local. I'm in such a bad habit at the moment. It's not good. I pretty much slept through the day after I got a few things done today. I went to bed about 4 or 5 o'clock and slept the whole thing. I won't do it in the summer, I promise, local.
4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I went to bed about 4. I was on a live stream till about 12, 1 o'clock. Had a real whale of a time last night with Henry Crinkle and lots of other crazy characters. But
he's calmed down a bit now, isn't it, Crinkle?
He has. A lot of people have noticed that as well, haven't they?
Yeah, I think he thought to himself, I'm on the right path. Maybe.
He's a good guy, is Henry. I knew that from the start. And me and Henry have had quite a few long nights arguing and debating, clashing, pulling out swords and fighting each other. And then we had a stream full of love. And he's been right ever since.
That's what we need more of right now, a bit more love,
Exactly. Damn right we do. And that's why I came on to these lives, not to spread love, not to, I didn't come in with any hidden agenda or obvious agenda, but I saw that there was a little bit missing. So yeah, I'll do my bit and I'll hope that others do theirs, and it'll be a great community again. Great community. You'll always have the arguments. You'll always have the people who are angry, upset, and everything else. But you can deal with that when you've got a good, solid community. Those things can be easily overcome. When it's a weak community, those things cause massive fissures and fractures.
Yes, a lot of drama.
Oh yeah. I don't mind a bit of drama.
I don't like it.
I'm not averse to a bit of drama either, but in proportion drama, I think Bumblebee's trying to get on. She's now having the connection issues. Maybe I've passed them on to you, Bumblebee. Sorry, but drama ultimately it's very toxic. It's very because we're all anonymous here. Say what you want. Say what you want. I could start saying whatever I wanted about you now, local. You couldn't do a thing. You can switch off, of course. But
that's it. Yeah, but when people start digging deeper, trying to find my name, trying to find my address, doxing
people
my address,
trying to dox you,
dox my work address.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I know why. because I'm mates with Danny Shine. Maybe that's
Well,
why.
that's said to you. Got a softness in my heart for Danny Shine. I've watched him for years, seen him a good few times in London, said hello to him a couple of times.
Oh, you're
I look,
you're a London fella.
no, I live in Leicester, but I go down to London quite a lot normally. I haven't been for a while now because of my knee. But yeah, normally down there every other weekend. My son, a 10-year-old son, he loves going to London. So we literally go to London and turn into two London types for the weekend. We're out all day, go and mess around in the water feature at South Bank during the summer.
Oh,
You
nice.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, we do all that. We sort of have dinner in Weatherspoons, and we do it for 3-4 days on the trot.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. I haven't done it with him for a while now. My knee's been out, so I haven't even been myself for a while now. But some point soon, I'll be back down there local.
Yeah.
I bet I've seen you around because you hang around Danny a bit, and you go to Speaker's Corner and you go to the protests, don't you?
Yeah. I'm gonna be at the protest on the 22nd. I'll be
Yes, yeah.
live streaming that. Yeah.
And how do you feel about the fact that that potentially is going to be 5 days after they've passed the law to say no more protests, or at least passed the
Really?
bill?
Did they pass
Yeah,
it?
no, it passes on Monday. Well, it goes through Parliament on Monday, and when it passes, it still has to be reviewed, but so it doesn't become law immediately. But effectively, they've said no more protesting, Loki. You are banned from protesting in this country. How does that make you
Well,
feel? How does that make Danny Shine feel?
I don't think. Well, uh, he's said many times that protests don't work, and
Same here. I agree totally, but they
I
shouldn't be
was
stopped.
gonna say, I've been to all the freedom protests the last year and the year before, and hasn't changed nothing.
No, of course it doesn't. Protest never has. Even the
Yeah.
Iraq war protest, 1.5 million people, changed nothing. But
Even
these
that,
things
yeah,
are still important to be with people, like-minded people, to create awareness. You might catch a few more people who, start to see what's going on.
yeah.
Totally agree, Vince.
Hey, Bumblebee, how are you,
Hey,
love?
thanks for having me. I was in the back for a while.
Yeah, sorry.
I restarted the phone. I think the phone wanted to update, and I was like, no, you're not updating
Yeah,
now.
not
Piss
right
off.
now. Not right
No,
now.
it's inconvenient at like 5 in the morning.
Yeah, do it at a normal time.
So,
Sorry, what it was I'd started Restream from my PC, and my phone then couldn't be dominant. So I started it from my phone, and it jumps up on my PC automatically. So I know how to do it now.
I'm
so you
gonna.
worked out how you do it. Cool.
Yeah, first time I've used Restream. StreamYard, I'm okay with now, but Restream was brand new, so I just
I
thought I'd have a look.
noticed that when you restarted, we lost our spanners. Didn't
Oh,
you
did you?
spanner us, or was it somewhere else that I went to? I'm sure it was here.
It would have been somewhere else. I'll make you
Oh, sorry,
a.
mate. No.
Yeah, no, Bumblebee.
I get my memory can be bad, and I think I went in somewhere and I was after putting about 4 comments, I got a spanner, and I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
but then that
I'll,
ended, and then I came
let me
across you.
say, I'll have you on my spanner list, and
Oh,
Baron of OPN as well.
I'm gonna
Most
love
Thank
you
you.
and leave
definitely.
you guys. My
Yeah,
break's
go
over now.
bake some more bread,
Cheers, local, for
local,
coming in.
and nice to catch up with you again because it's been a long time, hasn't it, mate? Take care, local.
I'm on my 4 days off, and I'll definitely jump on and speak longer.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got to
man.
try and get my
Come
sleep
back.
pattern back on track.
Yeah,
All
same
right
here.
then. Cheerio.
Bye.
Cheers, local.
Yeah, I
So
don't
how's
know if you heard us talking, but I knew that he worked in the bakery.
okay? I
So,
didn't hear
but
that because I was trying to get
yeah,
it. I didn't
so
want to sort of repeat or anything.
but he was also asking about what fibromyalgia is and chronic fatigue syndrome. But
Well,
so I just
it's
gave him a bit of sort of like an overview of like fibro is like hypersensitivity and causes a lot of pain. You can be
Yeah.
into pain 24/7. It then affects your sleep, affects your eating, affects what you can do,
Yeah.
and it's all about planning.
Well,
And you'll have to find that, Vince.
let me give you my overview of what I think fibromyalgia is. I'm not trying to obviously educate you.
No?
You know better, but this is my perception of it. And I've never been diagnosed with anything like that. I was diagnosed as rheumatoid arthritis, but it's gone. It came, made my life hell for a long time, and just poof, gone like a genie. So I remember ME. You know, ME.
Yeah, that's what I've got as well.
Yeah, and when that came along, doctors poo-pooed it. They said they called it the lazy disease or something like that.
Called
The
it
lazy
yuppie flu.
yuppie flu, of
I
course.
remember they were saying that people like VIPs, like yuppies, it was a type of flu for them.
Yeah,
and
long-term flu.
Yeah, and when I got diagnosed in March this year, my GP said that the diagnostic criteria is changing because of
Yeah,
long C. Okay, you
yeah.
know this bug.
Yes, yes.
So I'm trying to be careful that your channel is safe.
Thank you.
So she said that people that have had long C can now like that have no energy and all this, like are now being deemed chronic fatigue syndrome. So the whole diagnostic criteria in the diagnostic manuals is actually changing.
Yeah.
And she said
Refining.
hopefully it will bring different forms of treatment in for
Yeah.
those that already had ME chronic fatigue syndrome that couldn't get other treatments.
Yeah. So I remember.
Yeah.
So I remember that the doctors were very reluctant to diagnose people with ME, and almost they poo-pooed it as just people who were either down,
Lazy.
depressed, couldn't be bothered, lazy. And it went on for years, and then eventually they started to diagnose for it. Now, it's my perception that fibromyalgia started the same way, in that it was a condition, but by and large, people or doctors, medical health staff, would not recognize it truly. Again, putting it in the category of a yes, of course.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've had friends say to me, I've got an MRI scan, then I've got to go see the rheumatologist. All right. And they've literally had the rheumatologist said, it's all in your head. Go see a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist just banks them back. And it's bouncing them back and forth. And the thing is that people have basically been called attention seekers with fibro, that they live in this crippling pain, but they are suffering all that time. But it's usually brought on by a trauma. And one thing I've noticed is a lot of people with fibro have had serious traumas, like 95%. And they also have an element of like a traumatic disorder, as in like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Got me?
Yeah.
And you said that your knee was an injury, wasn't it? An accident?
Yeah, well, not so much. I mean, I ran when I was younger quite a lot, between, say, the ages of, because I was a chubby little kid. When I got to about 16, 17, I discovered girls, Bumble, and I kind of worked out that they weren't that interested in some chubby little kid, you know, with a double chin or a triple chin. So I started to, I'm as shallow as hell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm as shallow as hell. And so as a 16, 17-year-old boy, I started to sort of look after myself a lot more. And I ran, and running was something that was always present in my life until I was about 30, 35. Had a little boy. And
Yeah. Right, one question. Did you road run on pavements and roads, or did you grass run?
Anywhere I would go running. I'd always do it at 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, go out and run.
But you'd literally like just go out for a run down the street, and
I was fit as hell, and I would go to a local park and do it. I would do it on soft ground because I understood the impact of running is sort of damaging, and I wasn't no heavy runner. I never got up to 10, 15 miles or anything like that. But I'd go and do it just for a little bit of fitness. Never joined the gym or anything like that.
No.
And it kept me reasonably fit. I had a period in my life where I was so busy working, because my body was so active, I managed to put on about 4 or 5 stone.
Muscle.
And no, fat. When I stopped running,
Oh,
it may be in
inactive.
my 30s. Yeah,
Inactive,
and then I
sorry.
went back to it again. Yeah, I went back to running again, and it brought me back down to a measured weight. And you don't think of the future. I mean, it's like people who work in furniture removals. You know, they're bending down and standing up all day long. Ultimately, by the time they get to about 50 or 60, their
Yeah.
back's knackered. And it's the same for somebody who uses their knees a lot, and that's the position I was in.
And
But out of
their
nowhere,
knees.
no, not stress related, not accident or anything like that, a major impact to my knee. I my immune system shut down, and I just started getting arthritis running through my body. It was awful. It's the most awful thing I've ever had. I could barely get up the stairs or down the stairs. I got to a point where I could get upstairs, but it was laughable to watch and not very enjoyable to do.
Oh,
And
do you know what? After knee surgery, I got so reprimanded by this consultant. I was literally about 17 when I had the knee surgery.
uh-huh.
And the thing is, I had been playing league hockey, and a hockey ball flew, like lifted, and flew across the pitch, and I was like, yeah, it's going for my right knee, right leg. So I
Yeah.
moved my right leg out the way and put like up in the air and prop myself up with a stick, like my hockey
Yeah.
stick, and my left leg, and it went into my left leg, didn't it? And you could hear the noise that it hit my kneecap.
Ouch. Yeah.
And it literally threw me over onto the floor. It was that powerful. And I think it was 2 minutes to half time with Oranges. Yeah, and I was still technically on the pitch, so I was still a player. And because I said to my coach, no, back off, because he came to run on pitch, and I was like, no, back off. The game could continue. And my mate took a penalty hit for me, and then they had their Oranges. And at the end of the Oranges, my coach thought I was coming off, and I got back up and played for a whole 35 minutes or something.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that there was no sub, and I knew that it was going to be a tight, like, match, as in will we win or won't we? And we needed to get a few wins or draws. And I just thought, even if I'm just like passing, like, stood on the side passing the ball. So I was hobbling up and down this ring. And I got player of the I got player of the match for that, as in like, that you carried on and played. And
Yes.
about 4 weeks later, I barely could walk one day. Like there'd been pain, but then it was like starting to lock in season, grind and everything.
Yeah.
And I was at college at the time, and I remember that everybody was saying, you were walking fine yesterday. Now look at how you're walking. And I had to get up 2 flights of stairs. So it was like trying to put it all through my good leg. But then I was working out the different positions at different times of days, like different angles on my knee work better. So I was just trying to listen to my body. But I did get arthritis in my knees, even though I worked a physical job.
Yeah.
Till I was about 26, 28. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then I had that car accident that I told you about.
Which do you think is responsible for bringing on fibromyalgia?
The car accident. But
That was the greatest impact.
well, I lost my career. My depression kicked in. I believe that there had been mental health undiagnosed for many, many years. Now, I think that in a teen you could see like the depression, to be honest. And I was
Right.
bullied quite badly at school. but there was
Did it
a lot
affect
of
you
other
through
traumas that
life?
have gone on before, like that car accident. So I think
Yeah.
it was like, you could say it was just a car accident, or you could say that the car accident was the icing on the cake that took me into the fibro, and I got diagnosed within about a year, which is very quick.
A bad car accident can be a proper jolt to your system. Really can.
Yeah. I had a double whiplash, and the chiropractor some months later found out I had a fractured collarbone.
Yeah.
And the hospital missed that. And I've got one collarbone above my sternum higher than the other.
Ouch.
So, if you put your fingers on the top of your collarbones, you can clearly see one is an inch higher.
Oh gosh. Well, it's a clear reminder that we've not evolved to sit in a car and do 50, 60 miles an hour and to deal with the impact, that can happen.
The thing is that my car was almost stationary. I'd gone up a road to turn right, and a car had been speeding from a mini roundabout. And I'm trying to think, like, maybe the length of 3 or 4 tennis courts. Okay.
Yeah.
So one far, and he was speeding. It was a 30 limit, and I was turning into a driveway of the flats. And as I checked mirrors, and I did, like, I was very alert in the car because of my career.
Yeah.
And literally, as I turned right, I saw a flash of white in my mirror, my ring mirror, and I was like, shit, and I tensed.
Yeah. Mm.
And I literally, like, came rest like quarter of a meter away from a lamppost.
Yeah.
And the whole door was stoved in. Like, it wasn't possible just to get out. But luckily, a neighbour heard in the block of flats, came out. The guy tried to drive off, and my neighbour stood in front of the car and said, "I'm an off-duty police officer," which he wasn't. Okay.
Yeah.
And when the neighbour missus got me out, like, yanked the door open, what is it? The guy was in the road giving me you were in the wrong. Now I knew that there was indicators on. There was 2 lads pushing a bicycle down the path, and they witnessed all the lights were on, the indicators are locked, and they said that he was speeding. But the guy got away with 3 points and something like a £70 fine, and basically took my career away and everything. And it was heartbreaking. But I did try to, like, rebuild my life, but then I was literally like working in a staff canteen of a supermarket on a tens machine, and also going to college, and I couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't even do 3 days work, though they were pushing me for 5 days work to start at, like, I think it was 6:30 in the morning. So I had to be up at about 5, leave the house by 6, be in work for 6:30, and be making breakfasts for the bakers and other things.
Yeah.
And I remember this, there was a door into the canteen, and it was at the end of the counter of the kitchen, like open part, like where you serve.
Yeah.
And there was a wall there, and behind that wall was like the vending machines. And I was only employed to fill the vending machines, the Coke machines, clear the tables, and make sandwiches, not to cook, because I wasn't trained to cook. And this baker came in and started mouthing off one day, "Where's my effing breakfast?" and I was like, "Look, I'm not a cook. I can't make you that. I can make you toast cereal, and And he was like, "I want a fried effing breakfast." And I said, "Well, you can use your effing legs and walk across the town to Mackie D's or Burger King."
Yeah.
And a manager from Butchery overheard me and came round the back, and he saw me in tears before he actually had a go at me. And he was like, "Where's the other full-time staff?" I said, "They both had accidents yesterday, and I've been called in, and I'm not even qualified, like, in catering or cooking." So, and I'm literally, like, trying to think. I most probably was about 28 then, maybe younger.
Yeah.
And they basically had me working 5 days a week, and I was 2 days a week at college. I was behind on my college work. So when I got home from work at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, I'd then be sat down doing my college work to try and get my diploma.
Yes.
And I also ended up in hospital for some surgery. And it was just one thing after another. And when the GP actually found out I was working 5 days a week and 2 days at college, and she had said that from the accident I could only go and work part-time, and that was the agreement in the contract, and I was not supposed to work more than so many hours a day. She signed me off sick, and she said, I'm signing you off sick for a month, and I'll most probably sign you off sick for another month, and then we review if you go back, okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, woo. And she said, I'll let you go to college, so it gives you something to structure your week on. And I was like, yeah. And so I put my focus into college, and even though they'd given me an extra compensation of like another year to do my course because of certain things, and I have a form of dyslexia, I managed to complete the diploma just over the year. So I was still doing like case studies in the summer holidays, but I graduated with the rest of the class, which was
Well done. Good.
it meant a lot to me. And when I came out of like some exams with like 100% and 99, I'd never achieved anything like that in my life.
That's good.
You know, I was a kid, bottom of the class at school, always. I shouldn't have even gone to mainstream school, but I did. But yeah,
Well,
you know,
as
but so there's been many things along my journey of life. Do you know what I mean? But the accident,
adversity,
yeah, that
that's what we
accident was,
do as humans. We overcome. We're the most capable
yeah,
animal on earth. You know, I've seen some inspiring stories of people in you know, such situations, and we
yeah,
just we can do it. We
yeah.
can do it.
I
You
don't
know,
know. I think you've come across Mrs. J, and
I have. She
she's
she
such
grew
an
up in the same
inspiration.
area of me in Leicester. She's from the
She's such, yeah,
same area as
she's
me.
down South Country now, but she's
She
such
is.
an inspiration.
Yeah, I don't know much of her
She,
story. I'm looking forward to talking to her at some point.
yeah, and I heard somebody else's story. Trying to think who it was. I heard somebody else's story the other day, and I literally sat here sobbing.
Talking about what?
Oh, it was taking our rights back, but I heard his missus talk, and I sat
Ah,
here and
okay,
I
yeah.
was like, she said her whole life story, and I
Did
don't know if you're
she?
aware, but Society X and quite a few other people have been running focus on mental health and addiction, and she's
Yes.
actually a support worker for a addiction service,
Yeah.
and you know, like she was talking about her journey and how she got into addiction and how she recovered and then became a worker.
Yeah. She's very
And
brave to do that.
yeah, I think it was this morning or yesterday morning, and I literally sat there and tears were rolling down my
It
cheeks
is.
as I heard
What
what she
what
had
do you
gone through.
what do you think about people doing that online?
What, opening up
Yeah,
or showing their inspirational story?
both.
A bit like Local said, that people finding out who you are and doxing you and all that is
Yeah,
wrong.
some shitty people out there.
Um, and it can cause like some
Well, that's
bad
what I want to do.
consequences, because
Yeah,
if you think that you've got a female that's trying to flee an abuser and then they're doxed,
yeah,
got me?
yeah, big time.
Yeah,
I'm
Maria
aware.
C. Maria
I'm
C,
aware of
they're
the
very brave. Do you want to
consequences.
come up, Maria C? I know you're not. I've never seen you on a panel, but you can come join us. And
There's
we're
nobody around at 5 o'clock in the morning, Marie. I
no,
promise you. I'll kick them all out.
you'd be quite safe with us. But
I think they're really brave. I'll share my story, Bumble, and I have, to a degree, I've spoken at great length, and I haven't done it in the real world with people. I'm a very closed book in
No
the real
pressure,
world.
Marie, sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, I
But you
find
know
it.
what? When you're having a low day, or like a day that is a bit of a struggle for any normal being without mental health or with mental health, to hear what somebody's got through, it's fine, Marie. To hear what somebody's actually got through and come
That's
out the other
okay, Marie.
side helps you
It
keep
does.
fighting.
It does. It's inspirational. It sort of will help far more. You know, they say we learn from other people's experiences and mistakes, and you know, you can
I
sort of.
I think lived experience is so valuable, and some of the medical professions don't want
It's
to
what
fucking
helps
know.
us survive. It's what helps us survive,
But it's
Bumble.
like I've just said to you about my fibro, my chronic fatigue. I haven't gone in too much detail, but um, it's like that there was a conversation, and me, Maria C, and a few others, and lived experience. I shared a bit of my story about that particular part
Yeah,
um, of my journey that they've been through that as well. And I'm not going to bring up the topic because I don't want to upset Marie and I don't want
yeah.
to upset me. Um,
Uh-huh.
but it was quite an emotional evening, like, well, 3 in the morning. And basically, by the fact that I'd had lived experience about 6 years ago of it, and
Yeah,
I'm still working on those events, and Marie knows what I'm talking about. And she's got a fresher experience of that, and she's struggling with it.
yeah.
It helped her and two others. Do you know what I mean? And
How does it help you to share your story?
it helps so then I can see that what a fighter and what a warrior I've become.
Yeah,
And yeah, see, Marie said, yeah. The one thing that I said, and to get my drum, is I fighted 2 hard fucking years and I deserve a reward. That drum wasn't cheap. Um, I hadn't been spending much, uh, you know, be like for a few months before Christmas. And I was like, you know
yeah,
what? I deserve a reward for what I've done. I can't go out to a theme park like Alton Towers. I can't go out to like London, like you said, like you used to take your son. I
yeah,
can't go out and sit at the beach. I used to just enjoy and watch the sunrise. I
yeah,
need to do something. Sorry. I need to do something that I can do within the house.
yeah,
And I'd heard this drum like 6 months prior. I'd seen it on an advert, I think on Instagram, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I was like, you know what? It came up again. And then I was like, yeah, one day, okay, I'll buy it. And then
yeah.
somebody told me with PTSD to listen to hand pan, no, hang drum music, HANG music,
Yeah.
because it's
Okay.
at a certain hertz, like frequency,
Yeah.
and it really helps your PTSD. And I was doing that for about 2 weeks, and then this advert came up for tongue
Is it
drum.
the healing frequency,
Yeah,
432 hertz or something, isn't it? It's
it's
the healing
3
frequency.
point, I think it was 3.42 or something. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay,
but
I
it
may be
uses
getting
certain
the numbers
frequency.
wrong. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying. I know it's a 3 to start with, but basically, I'd been having a rough time, and I was listening to hang drum music, and I was going off to sleep some nights with hang drum music, and I was using another app that my therapist had told me, um, which reduces some of the flashbacks at night and the nightmares, the night horrors, and
Yeah.
it's about bringing you keeping both sides of your brain balanced and working, and not one side taking over when
And
the trauma will
entertained.
overpower, as in the memories. Okay,
Yeah.
and so on a night time when I couldn't sleep, even if I like just laid down and had the hang drum music playing, And then this advert came up for tongue drum again. And then I looked it up on YouTube and I was like, let's listen to this tongue drum music. And it slowly drew me in. And then Baz Outdoors was playing his guitar, and basically he was saying that he self-taught himself. And there was a lot of chat going on. And I happen to say they were talking about something called a mouth harp, but I wouldn't have been able to do that because I've got a dental phobia. But it was only a couple of quid, and I was like, and the more pleasure I got out of seeing how Baz was progressing and other things, I was like, you know what? And this hang drum, I was like, you know what? There's something in this. My therapist had given me some stuff and had explained that this app works on music, but it's got like a metronome in the background, and it ticks from, you have to use earphones, and it ticks from one ear to the other. And so it had like music, but then you'd have a tick, tick, tick from ear to ear, okay? Like a metronome. And it would help ground you, like keep you in reality and things like that. And there was a few times and I was like, you know what? I think I need to try and use that skill that I'm being taught.
Yeah.
And like my PTSD would be flared up by some instant, and I'd be like, I'm going to put that on and see if I can calm down. And it would work, okay? It is used in trauma therapy when you revisit your traumas and put a time stamp on them, okay? And I'm not able to do that at the moment because my living situation is so stressful and disjointed. But that's not my part. So whatever I do in my day, it's destroyed by interruptions at any times in the day by the carers.
Yeah, I remember you saying about your neighbours.
No, it's the carers, which is the main problem right now. So it's causing me a lot of distress. So we're just like trying to keep me stable. And I literally went. I see him on a Zoom, and the first Thursday of the month, I was like, "You seem different." And I was like, "Yeah." When I told him, I said, I know you gave me that app, but mainly for sleeping and for the therapy. But do you feel how much do you feel music can actually help people with like mental health PTSD? And he said massively. And I said, he said, go on, tell me. And I said, just before our last session, before Christmas, my drum arrived, and he was like, a drum, and like put his hand in his head, and he said, your neighbours don't go like that.
He imagined, as I did, when you first said drum, I imagined you sat in front of a drum kit.
And I said, it's called a tongue drum. And he's like looking at me. And I said, if you know what a hang drum is, or a hand pan drum, it's a new version of a hand pan drum. And he's like looking at me. And I think that while we were talking, he Googled it. And he actually said, for a long time now, I have not seen that enthusiasm and the emotions of like pleasure in talking about something so much.
Right.
And I had a bad session this week because of shit going on. But then I came off a live this morning with Baz at about 5 o'clock. His stream was playing up. And you know what? Baz had like tried to call up some tutorials. And I looked at what he was calling up, and it wasn't suitable for my drum. And I kept saying this. And I ended up starting to play a Disney song at 5 o'clock this morning. And I hadn't picked up the drum in 6 days. But Baz, a few people in the chat was like, come on, T, I want to hear the drum. Come on, T, I've not heard the drum. And there was a few people that I connect with, and I was like, okay, I'll do the drum. And Baz was like, what about this? You play this key, you play that key. Now, I don't read music, but you know, and then today I was go try and have a jamming session with somebody, but they weren't well enough. They've got like health problems too.
Yeah.
But we had a good chat. And we related so much, and it's like, oh yeah, I went through something like that too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Well, you know, you have to know. I mean, it's not
she's
teaching you
got
anything
fibro
here.
too. Yeah, go on.
You have to know the healing properties of having something interesting to do, it being
Distraction,
music,
yeah.
and you know, putting your mind into it. Really, we
Yeah.
are ultimately, and I believe this, incredibly simple machines, very complexly built, but very simply programmed. And
I think
yeah, a
sometimes
good,
the little things. Hang on a minute. I think sometimes, and Maria might agree to this, Vincent Bumble. Listen with my eyes closed. That's fine, my dear. Maria might agree to this. I think sometimes it's the little things, like say, like 3 little things, not a big thing, that can change your mood in the day. Yeah. Hello.
yeah, excuse
Oh.
me, I've just had a sneeze. Yeah, no, you're right.
Oh, did I
The
pass the sneezes on
tiniest.
to you?
Oh, did you sneeze? I didn't hear you
Yeah.
sneeze. I did a massive one, but I managed just to mute it right at the right time.
I
But
didn't.
yeah, it's those tiniest little details that can make a huge difference.
And it's like, if you have, for me, that if I wake up and there's a bad care call, then I can be in a bad way. Like, or if I've been triggered by my PTSD by staff not reading the information. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Maria. And it's like, but then, you know, if you have like a really nice call or a really nice interaction with someone, or somebody um inspires you, that can, to me, that can change a lot in that day.
Well, it's really obvious, Bumble. I mean,
Yeah.
it's stupid to come across it as a great sort of thing that we didn't realize. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, good things are gonna make our lives better. As you're
Mhm.
growing up, when you bought an ice cream, your world's perfect. When your parents take you somewhere special for
Take you
your
to the park
birthday,
and there's an ice cream
yeah,
van and you're like,
there's
Dad, can I have
nothing
an?
wrong with the world. But as we get older, as all those pressures come in, all the stresses,
And all
they
the
come
fear
upon
mongering
us.
that's gone on.
Yeah. And do you know what? That little phrase, focus on the positives, is, I know it's not easy, but that is absolutely
Hey,
true.
Stango.
Find the positive in everything. Stangu he's a good man, he is.
Do you want to? Stango might join us actually. Stango, if you scroll up, the link is still there
Yeah, let
at
me
4:51.
put that again.
Um, you um, you might be able to copy and paste it from
Yeah, I've done it.
4:51 in the chat.
I've done it.
Stango's been going on quite a few lives. That's why I said.
And this is my ignorance, Bumble.
What?
But I mean, I have no experience of mental health. I don't suffer that myself, thankfully. I have no experience of addiction. I've never had that. I do smoke, and I am addicted to that, but I don't have any addiction to anything which I felt has damaged my life more than smoking does, you know?
Yeah, and
So
I think
in my
sometimes.
ignorance, I think to myself that maybe it's these people with these problems. Maybe it's easier than we think. Do we overcomplicate it? Giving them 17 different tablets to take, is that the wrong approach? You
Right.
know,
I'll be honest with you. I think that the stresses in life nowadays compared to the stresses back in the 80s are totally different.
I agree,
The pressures,
but
the issues, the stresses.
I agree,
The
but only
unemployment. Hey.
as much as an individual would let it encroach on them in sort of a lot of areas. You know, a lot of people worry about politics, Bumble. A lot of people worry about current issues.
I haven't really worried about politics until about the last 5 years. Do you know what I mean? I've been been aware of it, but then when all this shit started 2 years ago, you know what I mean by shit.
Yeah, what I mean is a lot of people worry about things that are constants. You're not going to change them. And we all do that. We're all guilty of that. I'm guilty of that.
I am a well you worked. Do you know what I mean? I definitely fit that. But then with an anxiety disorder, and like what I've been through, that is surprising. And even when I got home from work, you don't worry about things like stresses, Maria, of like everything.
You're lucky, Marie.
Look for the little joys in my day. Yeah, it's like I've had.
Well, you can.
It's like yesterday. I had 2 really nice conversations with people, and I was literally stressing it. 10 a.m. But at 2 o'clock, I had 2 really nice conversations. Like 2 o'clock onwards, maybe 1 o'clock onwards. I had 2 nice conversations with people. And I was like, whilst I was on the phone, I was doing a bit of tidying, so it kept my mind off other things while I was being able to tidy, like on a conversation. And then, I was like, oh, that's all tidy now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had set myself a few little tasks, and I did them.
If you complete a task, do you feel happy with yourself?
I'm usually one of these to-do list people, and I can start my to-do list day. I can start my day with a to-do list of over 10 things. No, it's not reality, like realistic. I shall listen in whilst I get the shop ready to open though. Okay, Stan. Stan's got to get ready for work.
Okay. Good to see you there, Stan. Thank you.
But to actually, if I only had 3 things on my to-do list, but I'm just so swamped with things, and if I was able to look at the end of the day and tick them off, I could then see that, wow, I've done that today. Wow, I've done that yesterday. Wow, I've done that. It's an achievement. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, do.
And when I came off the phone to someone when I was quite stressed, they was like, right, will you sort this out? And I sent them a message, and they were well done. And that made me feel good. But literally, it took all of like 2 minutes to do.
Yeah, small achievement.
I live in my own world most of the time. Can be my prison or protector. Yeah. I do get you that and I zone out from what's going on in the bigger world at times. I'm not in tune with much about the news in the last 4 days. But then if you look at what's been happening directly in my personal life, you'll see what you would know why. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can only take on so much. I can only carry so many rocks in my backpack.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't need those rocks. And yes, I heard that Boris had a party. I heard this, I heard that, but I didn't watch too much. And so much was going on directly in the last week with me. And I was so hopeful at the start of the week about something. And then a meeting didn't turn out how I wanted to. But then when somebody helped me look at it and said, well, if you look at it, if this changed, then that would make your life so much independent and freer. So it's about they were focusing in my care meeting about that I really need to move to other property. And I said, but there's this barrier here that we've had, and I've been going through this circle 9 months ago, and I got really upset that this housing woman basically had said, well, you need to go through this. And I said, 9 months ago, you were telling me I couldn't. My situation hasn't changed. So,
Yeah.
But it was a lot of stress about my situation on my plate, if that makes sense.
Going back to what you said about putting rocks in your bag and walking around with them, a lot of people carry all the rocks, and it's very saddening for me to see that. I don't know why they do it, and they don't know why they do it.
I tell you now that I could easily name 20 rocks in my backpack, but I think some rocks have got smaller.
Yeah.
And some rocks that I don't need, I've actually taken out the backpack and put on the side of the path. Got me? But I know where they are, and they will come back in my backpack at some stage.
What? Don't tell us what the rocks were, but what makes you eventually decide to take one out?
I don't know. I had a therapy session one day, and we were talking about putting your issues, like visualizing this a safe, like in a bank, a great big safe with like the turn handle and that. And I was able to put one of my big issues in there. And I said, you know what? That person isn't involved in my life. Yes, it happened. I've accepted it happened.
Yeah.
But it isn't something I need to have in the forefront of my mind 24/7, is it?
No, sorry. So are they victories, or are you giving up?
No, it was a trauma.
No, without going, I don't need to go into detail, but when you take that rock out, is that a small victory, or are you just letting it go, or
right? So I had never ever been taught that exercise in 22 years with the mental health service. And this therapist, we do it over video call, and he was seeing what sort of place I was in that day, and then he said, right, you've talked about this issue, right? Visualize your safe place, and I struggled to visualize.
Yes.
And we talked about it, and the scene where I was sat in this safe place, and he then said, right, you've mentioned this issue. How do you feel that we put this to one side? Because it's not affecting your life directly now, is it? And I said, no. I think he said, name one issue that you're carrying, but you don't need to, and it's not important right now, essentially, in your life. And so I named the issue, and he was like, yep, okay. And I named it. I didn't go into great detail and depth about the event, trauma. Well, you see, that's fine. She says, Vincent Bumble, need to sleep. We'll watch back later. Take care. Big hugs. Take care, Marie, and big hugs to you. All right, and I hope you get a decent sleep.
Yeah, I'm not going to hang around for too long, or else I'll be up till 12 again midday. And I want to try and catch David Scott doing his first live tomorrow at 2 p.m.
David Scott?
He's a young fella who wants to spread some positivity. He wants to come in and help people. He's had a few
what is
bad
his
experiences.
channel? Is it David Scott or not?
I think he's just called David Scott. I'm gonna put his.
I'm just having a look.
I'm gonna put his
David
link.
Scott with music.
Let me have a look. I should be able to find him.
Yeah, if you check the link in the main chat.
Reasonably easy.
But basically, I visualized the safe, and we put it in there, and he said, right, you know the combination lock? He said, at any time you can go back and open that and deal with it, but it's not like in front of your eyes, is it?
How did you feel when it was in there?
Hey?
How did you feel when it was in there?
I physically felt a weight off my shoulder. My mood lifted.
Yeah.
And I was more positive for like a good week. And
you hadn't let it go. You hadn't got over it. You hadn't let it go. You just put it.
And I helped with it, but I put it in a safe place to deal with later. But I want to be able to do more of that. But at the moment, because like there's so much stress in my life situation, we're struggling to even have the space to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So, yeah, it was, it was, you know, I did feel a huge sense of relief. And when we looked back at my week, like the next week, he said, how do you feel about that? Have you opened the safe with the combination? Because he even said, right, visualize a combination, like the numbers.
See how pliable the mind is. How pliable the mind is.
He was like saying, what is it built of? What color is it? Is it cold to touch? So he was trying to get me.
Visualize it.
But he was also trying to get me to use my senses in the visualization.
Yes, powerful.
And he was like, okay, take hold of the handle and open the door. Does it open sideways? Does it open on top? Does it? And all this.
You'll probably hear the noise of the door as it opens.
Yeah, and he said, what sort of handle is it? And I said, well, it's one of those round ones with the bars on, you know, like the 3 bars that you rotate round, quite big. Yeah. And he was like, right, how big is it? And I said, all right. And I think that he was watching me on video, and I put my hands up. And he said, right, now hold the handle and turn it. And I'm doing it. Whilst I'm visualizing it. And to actually connect the senses while you're visualizing was so much more powerful. You could say to me, right, you've had that issue in your past, put it in a box and forget about it. It wasn't enough. I had to go through, right, this says the colour is this, it's made of this, it's this big, it's this deep, it's this, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And inside it looks like this.
The power of the mind, how easily we're influenced.
And he was like, right, he said, has it got shelves? Because then you can organise when you put things in. And he's very like, he's worked with trauma, and he's very like bang on. Do you know what I mean? And I can say, I'm feeling this, but I'm confused. And he's like, well, you're in a state of like freeze, not fight, flight, but you're in freeze mode. Let's try and get you out of that. And by working with him, and it's like we've got this chart, and I was quite shocked on about the 3rd session. He'd explain these charts. Then on the 3rd session, he said, okay, he said, next time you have a flashback, like you're reliving a trauma, I want you to identify whether your hands and feet are cold, whether your eyes are watering or dry, and all this. And the thing is that the brain system of the body is autonomic, that controls like the body systems.
Yeah.
When you're in certain phases of like fight, fright, and freeze, different things happen to your body physically. And I didn't know this. So one day I was like, well, my eyes feel watery and my feet are so cold, but I don't know if that's my fibro.
Yeah.
And he said, but are you wearing socks? Should your feet be warm? And I'm like, yeah. He said, okay, fine. And he showed me on the chart. And then I had a flashback one morning, and I woke up at about 5 a.m, literally shaking and scared. And I looked at this chart in this folder that was to hand, and I was like, you know what? I woke up in a flashback, not a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I then used a few things that he had suggested, and it was like, wow. Do you know what I mean? It was a big step to realizing that he really was in tune with what goes on in your body when you're reliving a trauma.
Yeah.
And
it became real for you, Bumble. It became real.
And I literally found him through a charity benevolent fund through my career that I am done for like 25 years. But I had a few professional people say, you'll contact them and see if they can help you. And they offer like, but it was quite an eye opener. And when I've been in crisis, he's always respected my wishes for one service not to be involved. We made a like plan that when I'm in a bad way, and also that if he needs to, he will like alert like the relevant services, but not that service that I won't work with. Got me?
Yeah.
And he's always been respectful on that, and he could so easily say, right, I'm phoning the mental health service, and I'd be like, well, I'm not going to engage with you. He already knows that would happen. But I've actually almost gone 2 years without any involvement with the mental health team. And
do you see that as good?
I do, because in the last year, I've not had one admission to hospital.
That is good.
And I could be bouncing in and out of A&E a couple of years back, like 10 years ago, I could be bouncing in out of A&E regularly.
Yeah, that's
So I have
good.
moved forward. And if you actually look at the shit that I'm dealing with, I've most probably got more shit that I'm dealing with than before. But it's like, I know that Tuesday I might have a rocky day, and I'm prepared. And like today, later on today, I'm going to make sure I play my drum, because that will lift my, I think it also lifts your energies, like your chakras.
Of course it does.
But I want to go into the session on Thursday and said, even though it's my late dad's anniversary, I got through it, and I got through it the best I have in the past 5 years.
I remember you saying you were not looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I'm worried as well, because I've got the daily stress with the care agency, and I just need, something to push me too far with them, and I'll snap. But I'm taking a step back on the care, and like tonight I actually fell asleep at 9 o'clock, missed care at 10. I happened to do it yesterday as well, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what he's got you to do,
yesterday I didn't even know the carer was coming out.
Yeah, what he's got you to do with that treatment that he's done with you is for you to rationalize your fears almost. And some people have the ability to rationalize a lot quicker than others. And I mean, the truly lucky people in life are those who don't really care about all of those things. They care about
people
the things
that
that
are
matter.
aware, but they can say, okay, this has happened. Yeah, I'm a little bit sad. I can let
on
go.
the shoulder and
I can let go. And I think that if you're not taught those basic skills as a kid,
it's what you have to do. I'm going to call you Marie there. Sorry, I'm looking at a screen with Marie written on it. It's what you have to do, Bumble. Yeah. You have to be brutal sometimes to yourself and others.
I strongly
for your own well-being.
I strongly feel that there should be more support in primary school.
There should.
Because there was stuff going on in my life in primary school, which most probably has impacted me now still.
There's lots to blame. Lots
when
of
I went back
I
went back to my family home for a few days, and my mum had seen my first primary school teacher, who taught me for 2 years. I stayed in her class for 2 years, and I went round for a cup of tea and cake, and she said, I knew there was something going on at school. What was it? And when I said, she was like, why didn't you come to me? Why couldn't you trust us? And I said, I didn't know it was safe to. And she also said things like, do you remember your first few days at school? And I was like, yeah. She was like, go on. And I said, I was like a Klingon to my mother, wasn't I? And she was like, yeah. And you did it for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. She said, I never had a kid as bad as you. But I feel that maybe I wasn't prepared for school, that mum was go away and come back. Got me?
Yeah.
And looking at things now, I'm like, was I ever left with someone and then my mum went away for an hour and then came back? I don't think I was, till like I went to primary school. Nowadays, like, you take kids to nursery and leave them there and then come back a few hours later. In the 70s, it was like, you sit in the mother's room next door, and if your child is crying, you know the cry, you come out the mother's room and you go like nurture them. That'll calm them down. Got me?
Yeah.
I mean, like mum's room, as mums or dads. But it used to be like a church hall, and they'd sit there like having a nap with a cuppa, and at play school. Now, I guess that maybe I didn't understand that my mum would come back at the end of the day. So if I let her go, would she come back? Got me?
Yeah.
And I didn't have that concept. And I said this to the teacher, and she was like, yeah, I totally agree with you. She said, but you were by far the worst child. It took about months before you went a whole day without your mum there. And she said, and we had to trick you with like the bottle of milk. We'd give you a bottle of milk and we'd say, hold it with 2 hands. You'd let go of your mum. And I used to encourage your mum to like step behind you, and she was out of eyesight. And
that's
then one
bound
day,
to have an effect on you for life.
Yeah. But there was a issue where when I was very young, like 4 or 5, Mum got taken off in an ambulance. She's epileptic, and I know that I was a complete emotional wreck, and I didn't know that she was coming back. And we stayed with the neighbours all day, but it was like a no school day because I was so distressed.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get that concept. Mum will come back to you.
Yes.
I do
you
think
felt abandoned.
Yeah, I just thought that, well, if my mum goes, and it's like Maria used the word like protector. My parents at that age, you see as a protector, them or your grandparents.
Can I ask a personal question without going into any detail? I don't want to know any details. The rock that you mentioned earlier that you put into the safe, is there any connection between that story and this story?
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's not about parents, but it is about family.
No. Yeah. Okay, I get that.
But what?
Abandonment again.
No. I wouldn't say abandonment.
Right.
But then it was related to I wasn't educated in part about something, and so something happened.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No details.
And if I had been educated, I could have said no.
Averted it. Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
The thing is that I think that, unless the parent brings you up in the right way, and if you haven't had that preschool, and that you haven't learnt to let go of things, like say Johnny, say the first class in primary school, and you've had a play fight, like you've had a fight in the playground, but you haven't learnt to let go of that. Do you know what I mean? Then when you're like 30 years older and something else happens to you big, then, and you haven't learnt to let go of that, then it all builds up. Got me?
Of course it will. It amplifies it.
And I think that there should be core skills for that kids are taught, like dealing with stress, or identifying when they're struggling and having a bad day is okay, but to learn how to try and turn things around.
Well, those resources don't exist. We know that in schools, in mental health units, in doctors' surgeries. They're stretched resources every time.
After my dad died, I got put in a mental health unit. There was no therapy at all. It was like, take these pills, sit in the art room or watch a TV.
Yeah.
And do you know where you got therapy from?
No.
The other patients.
Yeah.
And I literally was like so upset one day, and one of the girls was like, have you got she knew that I had limited disability, and she knocked on the door and said, T, do you want a drink? And she said, I know you haven't been out your room for like 6 hours, do you want a drink? And I was like, please. And she said, okay. And she said, can I open the door and bring one in? And I was like, yeah. And she went and made me like my favorite hot chocolate. And she saw me cuddling up to a hospital pillow and said, I'll be back in a minute. And she went and got one of her cuddlies and donated it to me for the duration of my stay.
Yeah.
And it was like this fluffy dog. And it had a bit of makeup on it by accident, not from me. And occasionally she'd say, oh, how's Ruffles, or whatever his name was. And I said, oh, do you want to have a cuddle with Ruffles? Like, and like, or but like, she got me doing art. She got me expressing my emotions in art. And there was one thing in my head that I'd wanted to express for about 25 years in art. Now, I'm a crafter, not an artist, so I can assemble and make things, but to actually draw and paint, it's a massive challenge for me because of the confidence. It's not perfect. I can't do this. Okay. I do want to be able to learn on a tablet, like how to draw, like digitally. And I just think that then I could say, oh, well, that circle is a direct circle, not like, it's not symmetrical. Got me?
Yeah.
And I was brought up by a perfectionist. So, but he was a design engineer. So there had to be perfection in some parts of his life, but then there didn't need to be perfection about other things. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if my clothes didn't match, or if I didn't behave properly, like, you know, to the utmost standard when out with like company, got me?
Yeah.
So, but I do feel that there should have been some core life skills, like even in nursery, yeah, like how to play, how to interact with people. And I think that that would change a lot of people's lives if they'd had that. Like, you know, it would have
It
changed their
just
lives
doesn't
now.
happen, Bumble Tea. It
No,
just doesn't happen. I'm
no.
sure many organisations, many
But then
parents, many people are aware of what is required.
what
It just doesn't
what
happen.
what what decade were you born in? Was it 70s, 80s?
70s.
Okay, yeah, it's the same. See, and you're in the UK, aren't you?
Yes, I am right now.
But have you grown up in the UK?
Yeah, all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I left Leicester when I was
So
reasonably young, and
tell me this, right? And this is an invaluable lesson, okay,
excuse me.
that I was taught. And I remember I was taught this at 5 and I was taught this at 6 in that first class. And I still remember it. And I'm 50 almost, okay? Was how to cross a road safely in the Green Cross Code. Do kids get taught that now? No. What happens? They get knocked down in the road because they don't know how to cross the road properly.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
said to people, if you said to kids even 10, 15 years ago, what's the Green Cross Code? I haven't got a fucking clue.
But I taught my son that.
Yeah. So you're a responsible parent, but there's a lot of parents out there that maybe was not even taught that 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Me?
Sadly so. It's you keep disappearing for a second there. I don't. You may be back now.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm back. The connection.
Yeah.
So that's one core skill that a kid could really learn that could keep them safe crossing the road and independence. Got me?
There's lots of core skills that we're not teaching our children. I've
First
done
aid.
my
First
utmost.
aid.
Yeah.
Why don't schools teach kids how to phone 999? Why aren't kids from about age 8 taught CPR? I've seen a 6-year-old do full resuscitation on a dummy, like a resusciani, and been fine, been perfect. She can get.
Yeah.
She could get a 14-stone man in the recovery position, save somebody's life. Just those 2 skills.
But do you know what? I've heard stories of children doing wonderful things because they've learnt it from YouTube.
Yeah,
Like
and I've
ringing the
heard
police when mummy's passed out or
yeah,
collapsed
like
or
mummy's
something.
had a fit,
Like
mummy's fallen
doing
down the
yeah,
stairs.
yeah. And they've
Or
learnt it
I've
from
even
YouTube.
heard of kids like that the mother going into her second pregnancy early, and the toddler is like phoned. But you see, maybe that mother has trained them to say, right, the only time you pick up the phone is if mummy or dad doesn't wake up or that we tell you to.
Of course,
like, you know. And the thing is that my mum was epileptic all my life. And at 5, I didn't know what 999 was.
Yeah. I knew
My
as a
sibling 2
child.
years
I
older.
knew what the thing to do would be to do, you know. I don't remember who taught me.
Yeah, but literally, like, me and the neighbour that was out in his garden saw us, knew us, and he was like, "Hey kids, what's the matter?" And I can tell you, I actually said, and it was mummy's going mad. No, mummy was having a fit, but I didn't even know that mum had fits. I hadn't been educated that by my parents. As
This
if
is
they
a
do.
very interesting subject that I would love to talk about at length. I think there are many failures in society.
Getting on, and
we're blamed.
Django,
we're to blame rather for most of it. I say we're to blame for most of it. We used to teach our children everything before schools.
It's like my dad taught me how to sign a check. My dad taught me. Her dad taught me, and it's like, why won't check writing done in school. Like checks were one of the things. Now you have cards, but what checks aren't often used. But what I'm saying is that things like banking were a vital skill. Why didn't you do that in secondary school, as in
budgeting,
a life skill? Yes, budgeting. But
it's mad world.
I now look at what I was educated in, and to be honest about how a fucking apple tree grows, it's a
should
irrelevant.
somebody write
how
a
an
book?
apple is developed.
Yeah, should somebody write a book?
Yeah,
a parent's guide to educating his child about the real world.
But how many books are there? And this is what I've always said, that there's no specific guide or like Bible or like, you know, like the like encyclopedia that you should refer to about bringing up your kid. And if your kid is like keep sticking their finger in their ear or sticking things in their ear, why? As opposed to why a kid might be doing this other behavior. Got me?
Yeah.
And it's such a whole massive like topic. But what I'm just saying is that there could be some core life skills about respect. The kids of today, if they saw Granny trying to cross the road and wouldn't help her. In my day, like in the 70s, if I saw an old lady trying to cross, I'd cross with her, and then she'd watch me cross back.
Yeah.
Or I'd even try to slow a car down, and I knew a driver got out the car because I was a kid and helped Granny across the other side of the road.
Yep. So it
worked. You see, it's me waving the car down, and he said, "What's the matter, kid? Granny, you know, Mrs. Mrs. Smith needs help to cross the road." Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't get that nowadays.
Completely.
Right?
Completely. It's just not taught to our
it's
children.
It's about respect for others.
Well, is there something where children are told not to talk to strangers, not to get involved with anyone else, not to take these risks because there are consequences for them, you know? If they walk somebody across the road and they both get run over, they'll get blamed for it.
I see what you're saying, but I think that if you've got an old person on a walking stick and they're struggling with their sight to get across the road and see the traffic, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I do completely. I come from that same
even on a
generation
zebra
as you do.
crossing, some old people's were like wait and wait and wait and wait. And I sat at work one day when we were stood on cover, and I watched this old lady at a zebra crossing for like 15 minutes. And I said to my mate, I said, give me a toot on the horn if we get a job. And he was like, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting Granny across the road safely. I said, then we don't have a car accident to deal with. Yeah. And he was like, okay. And, you know, like I wasn't leaving the vehicle far and I was in sight of all times. And he was ready to take a job down if we got it. Do you know what I mean? But
yep, I do.
It would have been my role to take the job down. But I was like, look, Granny needs to get across the road. Do you want to help or shall I? And he was like, oh, I'm comfy here. And I said, okay, I will.
Yeah.
But we could have literally gone to her being played down by a car.
I worry that those old times are long past behind us. And I worry also that we'll never get back to those times. It will take a massive effort
to go out and that, yeah.
Respect for older people, respect for an adult, really. But then, do you tell a child to be respectful for an adult, and then that adult take advantage of it? You know, it's a horrible world we live in.
Tell me something. Okay, in the 70s, to say about 2010, if you had Granny in a care home, would you go in as a kid with your parents and visit her every week?
Well, my grandparents were in Ireland, so I can't comment wholly, but I would have.
So one of my grandparents, she lived with us for about 8 years, and she was in a nursing home, and she kept going in and out of hospital to nursing home to like a nursing hospital.
Yeah.
And there was very few weeks I missed that visit, and I didn't have a strong love for her because she had a disability, and I didn't understand disability.
You didn't get to
I
know
didn't
her
like.
properly. Yeah.
She had strokes, and I didn't like the wet wash that I got when I kissed her, when she kissed me. And my dad actually slapped me one day because he caught me wiping my face in my sleeve after she kissed me.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Don't."
On the off chance that she saw you do it.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I mean,
and so when I used to take like the dinner tray in when she was at home, or pick up the dinner tray to take it out to the kitchen from her room, like, you know, when she lived in the house, and before I went to bed, it was always like, go say goodnight to Gran.
yeah.
And my dad just happened to be there one day. She did speak a little.
Yeah.
And if you said, "Do you want a cuppa?" it would be please.
Yeah.
But like even please and thank you's gone. Like if you go in a shop,
Gone.
if you go in a shop and buy a bar of chocolate, you know, often shopkeepers, like I'm talking of like a small corner shop, often
Yeah.
shopkeepers will say like, 70p please, or whatever. But then the kid won't thank them when they have the chocolate bar back when they pay for it.
Yeah.
Got me?
Yeah. Do.
They'll just put the change on it, or put the money on the counter, or you know, wait for the change back. And it'd be like, cheers,
Going back to
see
what,
you, mate.
yeah, it is. It's awful. Going back to what you said about older parents, the people do throw them in homes, and it's horrible. I've heard people say from their own mouths, "I'm waiting for them to die so I can
We
spend the
had no,
inheritance."
to be honest, I can look back now, and we had no option. She actually needed nurses.
Yeah, no,
Got
no,
me?
I'm not relating to
But
your
she
experience, but
was, when I was born, she wasn't living in the house, but when I was about 4 or 5, I think she was in the house. So about the
yeah,
age of about 8 or 9. But we were lucky; we had a bedroom that could be made it for her, like into her bedroom. But
yeah,
then it went back to a guest room. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
But my dad also worked at home, so he had encountered that space from mum. I'm not sure if that was mum's like space to
Yeah,
work. You know, like you have these man caves now. Guess that one room was
yes.
like my parents' caves. Got me?
Yeah, my whole house is a man cave.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, I guess I'd like mine to like be my own cave, but I have visitors every day, you know. So
Yeah,
I feel that there isn't like the privacy at times. You know what I mean?
yeah. We do.
And if
I would love to speak about this at length sometime.
yeah,
About
sorry.
No, don't apologise. The generational differences, how children are today. I think the mistakes that some parents make. Also dwell on the positives as well, because some parents do marvelous jobs. So let's not forget them.
Oh, I'm not
Um,
saying that
yeah,
all parents
and
are
I've done
bad.
as much as I can for my little fella, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love
How
to
old is
talk
your little
about
fella?
this. He's 10.
But like you
He's
said, that you've
10.
taken him out to London.
Oh, we're best of buddies. We do everything. I mean, he's abroad. He lives abroad. So
Oh, does he? Okay.
yeah. So
But when are you hoping to see him next? Does it depend on
possibly.
the restrictions?
No, I have no restrictions. I'm not. I haven't
No,
had
you know
the
the
medical.
restrictions with the sea.
Yeah, no, nothing. I haven't had the medical transformation, and I can travel anywhere. I have an exemption,
Right,
printed
okay.
exemption, so I can go whenever I want. I don't have
Uh,
to produce anything, so I'm lucky in that sense.
I'm not sure
And
if I've actually got an exempt. I can actually get an exemption. I haven't actually looked at it.
yeah, well, there are
But
many reasons why exemptions, reasons of exemptions, rather, examples of
yeah,
exemptions. So most people tend to be able to fall into one, but mine is visiting my son abroad, so I'm able to do that
yeah.
with
No, I
a
mean the
court order.
exemption of like the thing in your arm.
Yeah, I know. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And I guess that with your rheumatoid arthritis, that's classed as immuno.
Well, that's gone, so I can't use that. But I'm avoiding doing it, and
I'm pro-choice.
Yeah, me too.
And my
In all
choice is
areas,
that
not just that. In all areas, do what you want, as long as it doesn't impact me.
If the people directly working with these people suffering in like the hospitals aren't having it, why should I? Like, there's a reason.
There's a lot of them, Bumble.
Yeah, a lot's coming out now, and I'm aware of it, but I haven't been able to like watch much news because too much is on my plate. And what I'm doing is each day is I wake up
for you anyway.
I just catch up online really.
Yeah.
I literally I'm like, okay, tomorrow's a new day. When I wake up in a few hours, we'll take the day step by step.
Yeah,
and I'm going to try and play my drum. I'm going to try and play my drum. I'm going to try and do this, and I'm going to try and do that.
Yeah. That's how I do it. So I do it. My world was rocked 2 years ago. I've still got the
Christmas gingerbread house to make from Christmas.
So
I might give that a bit of a go.
You might be early for next year.
It's still in date. I can't remember when it's in date to, but it's quite a while. I don't know if it lasts till next year.
A ginger biscuit will last you a couple of years, I reckon. The eat by date
made.
might be.
The biscuit's already made. It's just about assembling it and decorating it. But then that's
well, if you want to share that, Bumble, let me know. I'll have a bit of that. I'll give you my address.
Yeah, I have got some ginger cookies to decorate as well, which was one of the other kits. So I might just start with that first.
I have no problem with accepting gifts. I'll demolish half of it if you're watching your calorie intake.
Not at the moment. I'm still enjoying some of the goodies that I've got left over in my hamper that I made for Christmas. Like I was like, oh, I fancy that. I'll have that. I've still got some mince pies,
Oh.
So, but
I hammered mine.
I made sure that I bought a supply before like Christmas because I know that they're so difficult to get after, and this is one thing that I so love and I miss. And it's seasonal, and it's just like hot cross buns. Seasonal.
Yeah. Sounds like you might have a little bit more self-control than I, but then I've lost a little bit of weight recently, so at least.
But you haven't been well. Was it you that wasn't well, or was it
I've
Ronnie?
been fine. I've been fine. Ronnie had a bit of flu. Yeah, I've been fine. No excuse. So I've thankfully lost a little bit of weight, eating healthier.
I hope that
getting a bit more exercise.
Your knee can.
Well, it's looking good so far. Thank you, Bumble.
A bit more mobile.
I can no longer call it a bad knee. Well, they offered it me. I don't really think I need it for now. I know it will come back. I'm not stupid. I know it will come back. I don't have a bad knee anymore. I have a weak knee, so I just need to get plenty of exercise, start swimming again, and things like that. And I hope I can get back to a really good level of fitness. Sort of my age and condition and so on. So yeah, I reckon it'll come back like a bad smell eventually.
Yeah, but I've always found that if you rush into going back to exercise, like I tried to after that accident to go back to work, and I'd literally come out of the gym, drive up the road, and end up back in the chiropractor.
Yeah, I'm in no rush.
And this chiropractor was like, "You've been to the gym again, haven't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "You're on a week's ban from the."
Yeah.
And 6 months later. I had recovered a bit, but not enough to get back. Hi, Anne. I'd been pushing too hard to start with. Well, when I was able to.
Yeah.
Without so much pain. But we never knew that I had a broken collarbone. But it's obvious that it's been broken now because it never was in that distorted place.
Yeah.
And every time the chiropractor put the shoulder back into alignment. Hang on. Right, I'm back. Every day he put the shoulder back. Every time I went, and one day he really put the shoulder back into alignment, and he said, "Right, use an ice pack, plenty of water, and go and rest. And when I woke up from a rest, I happened to look in the bathroom mirror while I was washing my hands. And I was like, fucking hell, have you seen that, like, lump above my sternum? And I noticed that my arm was free, but then I wasn't so free because it was like by the sternum collarbone.
Yes.
And it was out about 1.5 inches, like forward and up. And I was like, something's really screwed here. And I even phoned the emergency chiropractor line.
Does it cause discomfort?
Yeah.
It's painful.
But I knew that I would be in discomfort after it. But it was like a big adjustment that day, I think. And it just, I looked visually in the mirror.
Yeah.
I got up to the toilet, gone wash my hands, looked in the mirror above like the sink, and then saw it. And I was like, shit, man.
Yeah.
And I think that I'd had the adjustment at about 12 o'clock. I went and rested for like midday. I think I'd gone and rested. And at about 6 o'clock, I'm saying, I need help. And he was open to 8 o'clock. And he said, come in at like 8 o'clock.
Excuse me.
And I'll have a look. And they actually tried to immobilize my whole arm, even though I lived on my arm own. I drove. I needed to like wash and dress myself. And he actually went to a really top chiropractic conference with many people in the world and said, how do I immobilize this girl's arm? Because her shoulder and collarbone are completely out. And that whenever I set one, and he was the one that was identifying that it had been broken. It was like, there's no doubt about it.
Did he get any
But then the
answer there?
hospital was saying, nah, crap, bullshit. But whether that was because like mental health stigma.
Well, there's a little bit of a battle between chiropractors and doctors as to the benefits of it, you know.
I'll be honest with you, I did find chiropractic helpful even before the accident.
It can be, yeah, it can be very helpful.
When I knew an adjustment was coming, because I knew his routine, and he did try to distract me, and I really hated when he got hold of my head and adjusted my neck, and he'd actually see my whole body tense up.
Yeah.
And he tried talking to me, and I'd be talking, and then like he'd have his hands on the side of my head for about 3 minutes, trying to wait until I relaxed. But I would resist in the end. And he said, you know what, this isn't working so often. We need to lessen it. And then I went for physio and I went for went for like to see the specialist. Specialist was like, well, I think that's crap. And I was like, well, look at this. And I showed him a photo and he said, nah. And I'm like, you're joking. And I don't know what it is. I think chiropractic was seen as an alternative therapy, not a complement therapy.
Seen as hokum. Still is to this day. I
would go back to a chiropractor if I could get out and get some adjustments, and maybe in my back that would help.
It can help a lot of people. There have been examples. It can help a lot of people. There have been examples where people have been damaged by it. There are examples where it can do little or nothing to help somebody's condition as well. I know it can be helpful.
Any medical professional has indemnity insurance usually, as in if something goes wrong, and even in surgery, that can go wrong. So it's like a chiropractor can do an adjustment, but if they take a full valid history, and they're like, okay, so you have like crumbling bones. I mean,
yeah, I would go so far as to say some medical doctors probably have higher rates of failure than some chiropractors. You know, it's not a proven science either.
And I'll tell you now that some surgeons take on more riskier jobs than others. And if it hadn't been for a surgeon like that, my dad would have been dead when I was 16.
Surgeons do take risks. I lived with a surgeon for many years. They do take risks. That's what they do.
But there was a
everything's a risk
consultant.
anyway.
There was a heart consultant in Bristol, that hit the news that he had such a high death rate. But I'll tell you now that my dad was rejected by 2 other consultants before that consultant took him on. And my dad was in hospital about which heart?
No, I remember him. I remember that was one of the stories that was going on.
Yeah, I think it was either Dr. Strange or Dr. Wishart. I think it was Wishart. They both operated on my dad. And I'll tell you now, he was in a hospital being pumped worth of £1,000 worth of drugs a day in the 80s because he was a breadwinner for the family, 3 dependents. My mum couldn't work. And literally this consultant, I had a chiropractor willing to help me with the course, only needed 4 years. Should have done it. Yeah.
Only needed 4 years. Such a long time, Ant. Yeah, my partner was a cardiothoracic heart surgeon, and she was she was very much in that world. And
but my dad in the early 80s had a triple bypass, and there wasn't that many done in the UK when he was having one. And they pumped him full of drugs for about a month. And this consultant was on holiday, and he was phoning up the ward each day on holiday, saying, "How is Jesus' dad?" And they were getting the obs, and he was like getting the heart readings, and it was like, okay. And literally on the Sunday, this guy wasn't due back to the Tuesday at work, the surgeon. On the Sunday in the afternoon, my dad had a visit saying, "How about tomorrow?" And he's like, "What? What tomorrow?
What?
Your surgery?
How about next week?"
Yeah, so he was told like Sunday afternoon, we're going to do the surgery Monday.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even told about it because I was going through my GCSEs. And
which hospital was he at?
BRI, Bristol Royal Infirmary.
Yeah. Okay.
But and he's had some remarkable care. Like there is some remarkable care out there. But you see, he'd already seen 2 heart consultants that had written him off basically.
Yeah.
Said, "I won't touch you, too much of a risk." And then my dad ended up in hospital, saw somebody else who was like more superior and more experienced in the type of heart issue that dad had. And he said, "Well, this is what you need doing, but because of this, we're going to have to build you back up. You're going to be in for a little while." Has your wife got enough support with the kids and her? And my dad called on my mum's brother and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and the neighbour, and we'd get the neighbour taking us in to see my dad. And I remember that I had exams on the Monday. Hang on. I had exams, my GCSEs on the Monday. And then I had exams on the Thursday and Friday one week.
Yeah.
And I got home from school on the Tuesday, and I had been promised I could go see my dad. Okay. And you know what? I got told, "No, we're not going to see your dad. You need to do your studying." And I kicked off, and I mean, I fucking kicked off. I raided my pocket money, and I was just about getting out the door with pocket money in my pocket at 5 o'clock at night to get a bus from outside, on the outskirts of Bristol into the city to go see my dad. And do you know where he was at that time?
Where?
He was in ICU and had just made it through surgery. And they wouldn't tell me. But my mum confiscated my keys, confiscated my money. My brother tried to pin me up against the wall till I calmed down. And my mum was like, "Well, you got no money now."
Yeah.
And it was just sheer frustration. And it was like, I need to see my dad. I need to say how my first exam went. And something happened on the Friday, and a kid in the class was like, "Oh, Teresa's dad is going to die." And we were in a revision session, and I literally fucking walked out of a class, and I had never been disobedient in school. And the teacher was like shouting at me. I left everything there. And believe it or not, it was one of the bully's assistants that came out to use the bathroom, saw my feet under a coat in the cloakroom, and was like, "What the fuck's going on?" And she went into the teacher and said, "I'm packing Teresa's stuff up. She's in the cloakroom area, but she's not coming back in."
Children can be
And the teacher came back
vile
out and said,
creatures.
and the teacher said, it wasn't a teacher that knew me, that had any studies with me. And I just said, if you contact my form tutor, you'll know what's going on. I said, my dad's in hospital. And she was like, okay, Teresa, I have heard something, but I didn't know what and the seriousness of it. And she said, I won't tolerate bullying. Are you happy to sit in the cloakroom with your maths book and go through your maths? And I was like, yes, miss. She was like, right, I'll leave you out here.
I would like to continue this conversation.
No, yeah, we need to end it.
Genuinely, I would. I know you said you want to get to sleep. I want to try and get 4 or 5 hours sleep. I've got a busy day Sunday rather. I did nothing the last 2 days really. Plus, I want to catch David Scott on his live and show him a bit.
What
of
sort of
sport,
time is David going live? Did
about
you put
2 o'clock. I couldn't find it. I really don't know how to find it. I did have a search while I was looking around talking to you, but I just couldn't find it. I've subscribed to him, and I couldn't even find it in my.
Do you know what happens with YouTube? That you can go on a link, subscribe, hit the bell, but if you don't watch a video, then it doesn't always save as in your list.
Preferred viewing content, yeah.
Yeah, so, but like even in your list down the side on the YouTube, like when you put up all the subscribers, and I've noticed that if I'm in a chat and hit a link, what I do is I do it on the other device, and I stay in the other live. Got me?
Yeah.
On the other device, and I'll be watching it, but I won't necessarily be watching the couple of minutes of video.
Yeah.
Or I will be partly watching it. It depends, but if I'm too involved in the live chat going on, like the chat or the panel, and there's a link come up, I'll do it on my other device, run a few minutes of it, knowing that it will save in my subscribers. Got me?
Yes. I just have no way of finding it now. I'm going through list after. Well, I've searched for David
if
Scott.
you're in the room, do you know this David Scott? He's a new guy. I heard him on a channel the other day. Did you weren't around last night, were you, when I was on Baz's?
No.
I played my drum.
Where are you? I caught
Baz. And I hadn't got my drum out for 6 days.
Right.
Because of everything
I caught him
going
earlier
on.
and had a little chat with him. Had a bit of a laugh.
Sorry?
But I caught him earlier and we had a bit of a laugh.
What, Baz?
But, yeah. But I didn't.
It's like I kept saying to him, and he said, "I want a drum too," and I said, "No, what you want is a music shop, so you can play with all the instruments but sell them." And he was like, "Too damn right." And the thing is, he had a guitar. He bought he had a harmonica, and I was like, "What you buying next?" And we were just bantering about like this drum. I was like, "Well, I want this tongue drum," and he was like, "No, I'm going to get one before you." But him and Mrs. J were the inspiration that I just needed at the very end to get that drum. And I tell you now, I am so pleased I bought it.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful when I hear it. It's wonderful. It's very healing, very relaxing.
A few more people heard it today, and somebody even contacted me privately. There's I hear on the grapevine you've got a drum. But you're driving your neighbours mad. And I was like, actually, I've just been playing it before you called. And it's like, go on and play it. And I played Amazing Grace. Within the first bar, it's like, oh my God. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I might have it. I have got it. Right, the link is going to come up now. He's changed his image. It says auditing with David, but he's going to be doing a positivity live stream on Sunday
needs
today,
to
obviously.
look at taking our rights back and Society X, tell him. And
I'm sure he's aware of.
too.
Yeah, I'm sure he's aware of all of those.
I don't know.
He's come into a couple of live streams that I've been on, so he's assimilating himself. You know. I'm going to end the live stream now, Bumble. Nice to speak to you. We must continue because I want to know what happened. We'll leave it on a cliffhanger for the people listening as well, but we'll continue exactly where we left off. I'm going to get some sleep now. So
you got quite a few views on the first. Hey?
Seven viewers in right now.
Well, on this one, yeah, but on the other Restream that you started, by the time you finish, I think you had about 15.
Did I? I think I've
I
deleted
looked at
that
it
one
and I was
already.
like, right, was it 15 or 20? So on your other Restream that you did, hey?
I don't know. I've deleted it already, so I'm having a look right now. Let's have a look.
Oh, you did put it up, but then it's gone. You know, your Restreams that you did.
Yeah, I've put it into.
But I think you had about 20 views, which 4 or 5 in the morning.
No, 5. It's showing as 5 views.
What, the last one?
Showing as 5 views. Yeah, the last one. It's only showing as a short stream. That was the one where I couldn't be heard. Yeah. Well, I only came on just to have a fiddle around with Restream. If anyone came in, I was happy to have a bit of a chat, you know.
Subscribers.
So you catch most people during the day and the evening, I guess.
There's a lot of lives that go on from like 6 to like about 12.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And then it goes a bit quiet.
Yeah, they're the times that I won't be sort of doing it for now. Maybe if I get a little bit organised,
and the bigger channels, like people that have got like say 500 subscribers, they're more likely maybe get like 80 people in.
Yeah, I like going in their panels as well. So sort of bit of a conflict of interest for me. You know, I don't really want to do a live when I can go in and contribute to somebody else's. I'm not fussed about building up anything just yet.
Right, I've got that link, but have you got Crinkle's link? Because you say that he's mellowed out.
He has hugely.
And I am finding that I'm hearing that there's a live going on, but I don't know where it is. And I'm just thinking, like, is it Crinkle? And I've actually tried to Google him, like, find him.
For sensitive ears only, I would say sometimes it gets quite raucous.
No, I totally agree. But there were times that I'm like, I could do with something. I actually woke up to Fair Britons tonight at like about 1 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And it was when Baz Outdoors came in, and I played it back, and it was like when Baz Outdoors came in, I woke up.
Well, Crinkles can get a bit out of hand. I do contribute to that. We have a proper laugh. I've got a nice little relationship with Henry. We understand each other, despite our earlier clashes.
Mrs. J has helped mellow him as well.
Yeah, I would say it's been an environmental thing with Henry, but he's on the right path.
Has he still got his pile of washing behind him?
Yeah. Needs a woman to go and sort that out. Bumblebee.
I'm just looking at his homepage now, and he's got the pigeons up and things like that.
Yeah. He needs a woman for all aspects of his life. He's he's lost without one.
Yeah. Anyway,
right,
I might go and watch.
I'm going to end it there.
I might go and watch Ronnie London, so I might go and put some.
I'm going to have that on as I fall asleep now. Yeah, nice to talk to you, Bumblebee, and I look forward to continuing the story. Just like in the episode of EastEnders, we left it on the cliffhanger.
Yeah, and if I'm not always around like 9 to 5, well, like in the day, because of my health, and a bit like you, that you've been sleeping when your body's told you, and you're trying to retrain it.
Yeah,
I'm sort of trying to do that too. But if my body's like at 8 o'clock at night saying you need to sleep, I'll miss all the lives. But hey,
yes, well, you
got to put yourself first.
You have. So I shall bid you farewell. Lovely to speak to you.
Take care. Have a nice day today.
Thank you.
And I hope you achieve what you plan to do.
I've got to, because it's Monday the next day. So
Are you working Monday?
To do. Yeah, back to work Monday.
Okay. I hope you have a good week. If I don't see you soon.
Thank you.
Take care, and thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. It was great. Thank you to the chat.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I'm going chill definitely today. Bye.
Okay. Bye now.
Thank you.
What a lovely woman. Yeah, sorry chat, I'm gonna finish for now. I only came on to try and learn how to use Restream, which I think I've got it all now. There were a few teething problems at the start, but we got there in the end. Everyone have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Bye now.